What's up? What's up? What's up? Okay, I wanted to try this writing exercise as an author myself to rewrite Captain America 4. First of all, it's a cool movie, and I think people who are hating on it have been pushing a lot of negative agendas um, in how they're speaking of it, specifically Sam Wilson's character. And I'm not with that, so this is not that type of commentary. I really wanted to just stress that this is coming from a place of love, and just like a cool writing prompt to try to rewrite it myself. So let's get into it. Also, I'm going to try to keep the main core elements of the story the same, which is right here. Okay, let's hop into it. Okay, let's start with our main character, Sam. He is committed to perfectionism as the new Captain America. He's constantly on point. He's still charming, but he's losing himself due to the stress of having to work twice as hard without a serum. In fact, he even has a rule: don't get hit. Right? He's been through so many battles at this point. He's in his 40s. He knows that there are larger threats out there that come at any moment. He can't sacrifice any risk. So he has a super scrappy as well as a logical battle mentality. Think Sherlock Holmes 2009 when it comes to how insights of battles just kind of come to him, right? So we start with Sam Wilson and Joaquin Torres, who is the Falcon, trying to stop an illegal gamma weapons trade, which is outside of United States borders. An accident happens, and the Falcon gets like seriously injured, right? And this starts both of their arcs. Sam feels inadequate because he can't protect the people he loves all the time without a serum. He feels like he could be stronger. And we'll get to Joaquin's a little bit later. We also learned that Serpent Society was the buyer of this failed deal, led by Sidewinder. Also, in this movie, we're going to call them Serpent Solutions, which is another reiteration of the Serpent Society that's in the comic books. Anyways, we have our stakes. But what's crazy about this is that Serpent Solutions in this movie is an official genetic biotech organization with ties to super rich supervillains, right? Who sit on the board like Dr. Samuel Stearns, okay? The society has very contentious relationships with Thaddeus Ross that we don't really understand yet. But they have the good graces of the public because they actually have cured some diseases so far. So people like them. The rich are getting richer. Thaddeus Ross doesn't like them for some reason. Speaking of Thaddeus Ross, he does come to Sam and ask him to restart the Avengers, but without any governmental oversight. He's basically making a peace offering. And while Sam Wilson thinks he's lying, and he is, right? He does miss his friends again after the failure and the Falcon getting injured. Cap really feels like he could use more help and he would like to see his friends again more consistently, right? So there's this world summit that they all go to where Sidewinder says that Serpent Solutions has discovered a mutant gene, right? They predict that 10% of the population has this hidden gene that provides them with superhuman abilities. And in case you don't know, this is really big because currently in the MCU, there are no superheroes that were born with their powers. Everyone got them through either intelligence or an accident. The exception is Thor and the Asgardians. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they're not. I mean, they're not human. You can't correct me on that part. But, anyways, this will be key later. So, anyways, they have a reagent that will activate this mutant gene. This is where we bring in Joaquin Torres. So Joaquin wants to honor his family and still be the Falcon, so he agrees to be the first test subject. Captain America says it's a bad idea, but he stands by his man at the end of the day. So when they expose him to this reagent, he grows actual wings. And so Joaquin Torres is now our first mutant in the Earth 616 MCU. I know that mutants were introduced in the Marvels, but it was another universe. Anyways, let's keep it going. Oh, and this is comic book accurate because in the comic book, he is actually a mutant, as you can see on the left. Anyways, this causes a huge frenzy across the world because it shows that others are among us. People become scared of their neighbors, their sons and daughters, and think they might have powers and the ability to harm folks. So Thaddeus Ross, this conniving son of a gun, decides to start a registry. He says, okay, everyone has to get tested, and if you are a mutant, you have to get put into this database. Now, this obviously leads to profiling, discrimination, and a divide, but it's still pretty early. So Captain is seeing the winds kind of move in one direction, but he doesn't even really know what this mutant thing even is, right? And he's still concerned that it could harm people who don't know that they have powers and they could be activated. Anyways, Serpent Solutions slash Society starts launching secret attacks on these registration bases, right? And this is where you can bring in Diamondback and a couple people who I think were written out of the original script. And Captain America and Falcon start to get really suspicious because why are these evil dudes bombing and destroying their own bases? Things get even more tricky when Thaddeus Ross does a public testing where it shows that he is not a mutant, right? And this is huge because they're like, oh, thank God, my president is human, pretty much, right? And he sensationalizes on that fear. So he declares that Japan or some other country, in the movie they talk about Japan, but it could be anyone, is going to use mutants to fight in their wars, right? Which almost kind of starts this arms race, but for mutants, where he wants to add adult mutants to the military. And it sort of gets a lot of people wanting to do this because they don't want to be behind in the arms race, right? Now, Cap starts to detect Ross's ulterior motives, knowing that he truly wants to be a wartime president. But what's so hard about this is that Captain America starts to actually become beloved. Sam Wilson starts to become beloved because he is an actual human. And even more so, he never took the serum. So now people start to respect the fact that he's just an average guy doing superhero stuff. And so he's kind of conflicted on what the symbol really means for him and how his choice early for his own personal can be used as a political tactic. So this all comes to a head when Serpent Solutions decides to host a think tank with the world's most illustrious billionaires and dignitaries, right? And they want to figure out how to solve this mutant crisis. The best idea that's presented is that they want to put every mutant across the globe in one island to test their loyalty to humanity and to make sure that they have nothing that could pretty much bring harm to anybody else. And just so we're clear, this is an allegory to concentration camps. Yes, it's okay to have our movies have real themes and talk about real issues that are affecting the real world. Okay, but this is just the comic book context for mutants. So Sam and Falcon infiltrate this think tank and they see a conversation with Sidewinder and Thaddeus Ross go sour. Sam discovers that the president has been exposed to gamma radiation through pills that he's been taking over the last several, I guess, decades, however long it was. And he will turn to the Hulk if he's exposed to the real reagent. The test that he did in the public showcase was all for show. They were never going to admit he was a mutant if he was a mutant. So Sidewinder wants him to play ball. Thaddeus Ross says, heck no. And so he gets exposed to the reagent and he turns into the Red Hulk. So now Falcon has to stop the Red Hulk from killing all these heads of states and billionaires. But again, he cannot be hit. And this is where we spend the budget on like the hugest action scene of all time. Okay. So anyways, Cap succeeds by admitting to Red Hulk that he is angry. He is so angry in the world. He is so angry that people are using him as a prop for letting the Falcon down, for the world turning against the mutants in real time. But he controls this rage by being critical, otherwise he'd snap. And Thaddeus Ross actually hears him inside of the Hulk, and that's how he learns to control the Hulk. Because in case you didn't know, the difference between Red Hulk and regular Hulk is that Red Hulk can control when he's angry and when he transforms or not. The Green Hulk can't, but Thaddeus Ross is in complete control. And so I think that would be really cool to be like, oh no, he has such strong willpower that he'll just be in control. So anyways, he reverts back to his human form and decides to actually have to now take down Sidewinder. So people with mutant genes are getting ripped from their homes. They're put in these facilities, and it's actually very sad. And a lot of Americans and families are starting to think like, dang, this is actually kind of conflicting. Maybe it was a step too far. But Cap, Falcon, and Red Hulk now expose Sidewinder for creating this worldwide panic while providing the solution. I'm running out of time, but basically they have to have a huge fight, and Sidewinder gets defeated and goes to jail, as well as many members of the Serpent Society. Serpent Solutions is crippled, and they're taken over by AIM, which is really huge and will be talked about later. They're taking rise with Dr. Samuel Stearns being the true villain who knew all this was going to happen. So now this guy, Samuel Stearns, is kind of like the Lex Luthor and Sam Wilson is Superman. They now have this contentious ongoing feud. Anyways, Cap makes a speech by saying he's a captain for every American, mutant or not.